Hi, 6th grade. Welcome back to Mrs. Stalick's Resource Zone. Tonight's mini lesson is going to be about linking and action verbs. Today in class we talked a little bit about both types of verbs, and tonight we're going to review and make sure you understand the difference. So action verbs show action, just like it sounds like. So verbs such as jump, eat, play, learn, read, skate, etc., etc. You could go on and on. All of these verbs show action, and the subject can do these verbs. The other type of verb that we're going to talk about, again, these are action verbs. The other type of verb we're going to discuss tonight are linking verbs. Linking verbs. Okay, so the most common types of linking verbs are forms of the verb be. And you see these most often in many different kinds of sentences. So those verbs are is, are, am, was, were, be, being, been, become. These are the most common linking verbs, and they link the subject of the sentence to a word that either renames it on the other side of the verb or a word that describes it. So I am going to show you some sentences with each of these types of verbs, and I'm going to show you how you can tell the difference between linking or action verbs. But first, I want to share with you some verbs that can be either action or linking depending on how they're used. And some of those verbs are appear, seems, feel, sound, smell. What am I forgetting? Let's see. Seems, feels, sounds, smell, looks. Let's see, I have a list over here. What are some other ones? Stay, turn. It's another one. A lot of these have to do with the senses. So if it has something to do with the senses, it could be a linking verb, but you just have to see how it's used in the sentence. So let me show you some examples of what I mean. Let's write some sentences up here. Okay. In the sentence, she feels sick. Okay, the first thing we want to do is find the verb. And the verb in this case is feels. Mrs. McNulty always likes for you to find the subject of the sentence after you find the verb. And to find the subject of the sentence, you have to ask the question, who or what feels? And the answer to that is she feels. So she is the subject. The subject is a noun job. And she is a pronoun, and it can do noun jobs. Okay, so the subject, she, feels sick. So what we have to do is run what Mrs. McNulty calls the test. The test is if you can replace the verb with is or an equal sign, either one of these. If you can replace that with is or an equal sign and it makes sense, it's a linking verb. So does it make sense to say she is sick? Yes, it does. Does it make sense to say she is equal to sick, meaning that she is the same as sick? Yes, it does. That makes sense. So we know in this case that feels is a linking verb because you can replace it with is or an equal sign. Okay, so now let me give you an example of another sentence with the same verb feels. Tom feels the cactus. Let me erase this so it's not in the way. Tom feels the cactus. Okay, so once again, we find the verb. The verb is feels. We find the subject by asking who or what feels. Tom. Tom feels. So Tom is the subject, feels is the verb. Now we have to run the test. Can you replace the verb feels with is or an equal sign? Does it make sense to say Tom is the cactus? No, that makes no sense. Tom cannot be a cactus. Would it make sense to say Tom is equal to or the same as a cactus? No, that also makes no sense. So feels is not a linking verb. Feels in this case is an action verb. And in this case, Tom feels what? He feels the cactus. So cactus is another noun. And we're going to find out what noun job that is next chapter. But for now, we're just going to call it a noun. So in this sentence, feels is an action verb. In this sentence, feels is a linking verb. When you run this test by trying to replace the verb with is or an equal sign, you will always be able to figure out if the verb is a linking verb or an action verb. Okay, so it's important when you're studying to know how to run that test. It's also important when you're studying to recognize the verbs that can be action or linking, because you're going to have a section on your test where there is a sentence and the verb is going to be underlined, and you're going to have to tell by writing on the line whether it's an action verb or a linking verb. So practice these. There's some more in the notes that I've sent you, and I have some other practice sentences and some other action verbs listed as well. Hopefully that helps tonight. I'll see you tomorrow night for the next lesson.